Well, welcome to part 23, I believe. No, 22. So we're adding enemies, weapons, and the ability to have a fight with an enemy. So there's quite a lot to be done. I'll just run it through so that you can see what it looks like now. Just make sure we're on the right place, and then we'll step through and show you all the code. I'm going to leave the debug mode on for the moment, although we have been turning it off in the last one. There's a couple of changes here. So first thing, of course, is the items, and you'll notice now we have a new item. We've now got a sword, and it tells you here it's of class weapon.weapon. Everything so far has been item.item. Weapon is a subclass. It's inherited from items, so I'll go through that when we cover the code. A toy plastic sword, a dogger's chew to handle. So that's the first thing to notice. We've got a weapon class. Enter. We've now got the dictionary shared enemies contains the following enemies: name rat, description a vicious brown rat with angry red eyes, strength 50, health 50, and a drop item is the key. So we've now got an enemy class. This is the locations as before. You'll notice now that in the corridor that we've got a sword, whereas previously we had a key, and that the key is now not showing up at all in here, and that's because it's inside the enemy. Let's press enter to continue there. So this is the same as before, so I'll try and skip through this as quickly as possible. I'll choose 4 thief just for a change. Okay. So the game should start any second now. There we go. So this looks exactly the same as it did before. So I will just go and step through to go east. So we'll go 6. You'll notice now that we've got, as well as having the various things we had before, we've now got a sword here. So inside the corridor we've got a key card and a sword. We no longer have a key. So let's examine the sword, which is item 3. And it says a toy plastic sword, the dogger's chew to handle. Now we're going to take the sword. It's in our backpack. And now we're going to go east again, which should be to the lift. And that's where the enemy is. So we've now got, you're in a dangerous lift with doors that do not close properly. There are exits west. Actually, I did delete that last time. That must have slipped back in. Anyway, enemy rat. So it's telling us that we've got an enemy, and there we can attack the enemy by pressing 1. So let's do that. So we hit 1. You attack the rat with a sword, 25 damage points. It attacks me, inflicting 50. Okay, we've still got the ability to attack the rat. Let's do that again. Attack the rat. The rat is dead and dropped a key. Nice one. Okay, so we've killed the rat. It's dropped the key. It's now available in the lift. Let's have a look at the key. The L front door key covered in rat vomit. That's, yes, there you go. You can put whatever text you like in this. So let's take the key. So we take the key and put it in our backpack, and then we go west. And now we can go north because we have the key in our inventory. Use the key to enter. We're at the end of the adventure. There are no exits. What next? Well, all we can do really is quit. So we'll quit. Okay, so that shows you how the this stage of the game works. So let's start with the new classes. I'm going to start initially with the weapon. Now the weapon is a subclass, and it inherits from the item class. So if I just briefly show you the item class again, just to remind you. So this is what the item class has. It has a description, name, craft items, uses, and a container. The weapon class inherits from it. Now, because this class is in a separate file, most of when you are learning Python, particularly at school, you write your class, several classes, all in one file. This is different. It's in a separate file, so we have to put up here in the where we inherit from item.item. That is the item file and the item class within that file. So a big difference here. So item.item. Also, when we want to initiate the base class, normally down here you would put super brackets dot in it. That ain't going to work no more because the super is not recognized. We have to use item.item and then initialize that. So it works the same way, but because it's in a separate file, the weapon and item are in different files, we have to specifically state where we are getting from, and also you have to import the item class. So it does work, but it's just a slightly different way around. Now we've added a property which is damage. So it already inherits from item. It's got the name, the description, all that stuff, the container, any methods that we put in there would be inherited. But it's got damage, which is new and specific to this. So you can see in the constructor up here, when we actually create a new weapon, we are passing the name, the description, the craft items, the uses, the container, and finally the damage, which is our new parameter. And here we are initiating the original class using self, the name, and the description, but we're not, and then we're just setting the self damage equals damage here. So that's a slight difference. I'm just thinking I perhaps should have added the other parameters here. It's just that we're not actually using them at the moment. Anyway, that would probably cause an error later on if we didn't use them, but we can come back and deal with that as and when. Yeah, I think we should have done. No, anyway, no worries. So that's the weapon class we have created, which is inheriting from item. Now the other one is the enemy class. So this is a brand new class. It's not inheriting from anything. I've just used the decorators for its properties. Then we've got two methods. We've got an attack method where we are receiving from the player when the attack is called externally, so that when the game pie or main pie calls the attack, it's passing the player object in, and then it says, anyway, we'll go through this once we are running in debug mode. And it's also got a receive attack, so that however much damage is sent to the enemy, it reduces the health by that amount, and then if it's less than or equal to 0, then it makes it 0. So of course then the enemy is effectively dead. We've also got, as you can see, a drop item, which is an item that the enemy can carry with it. This is of course a string value. I haven't actually put the descriptors in here. I must have forgotten to do that. So let's just quickly do those. I might actually just go back and do these. Strength is also an int. That's better. Description and name are both strings. These are not necessary, it's just that they let you know what those variables are holding, so it's kind of useful. So that's the enemy class done. Let's just save that. We've done the weapon, the item we were just looking at. Yep, nothing new there, we can close that off. Game. Now there's some new stuff in the game class. We've now filled out the add to enemies, which is very similar to its equivalent in add to items or add to locations. I'll just show you those. So all it does is shared.enemies update with the parameters that you want to pass in, and it's creating a new enemy here. So that's new. We've also got an add to weapons, which is similar, shared.items. You'll notice that because the weapon is a subclass of item, we can store it quite successfully in the items dictionary. So that we create the weapon using the weapon.weapon here, but it's stored in the items dictionary because it's inherited from items. Let's drop that out of the way. Now, next one is to create the default items. There's a small change here. We already had these for, but we've now added add to weapons, sword, a toy plastic sword, dog's chewed the handle, yuck. We're now, because we are passing the damage, we need to make sure the rest of these are filled. So that's our craft items, that's our uses, that was the container, and that is the damage. So we haven't added any of these on here because we didn't use them. But now because we need to give it this 25 damage points, we need to put the values in here. So that's adding to the weapons, which calls this one up here, which puts it in the shared dot items. So that is giving us a new thing in create default items. The next one, which we've now filled out, is create default enemies. So we've only got one, so I've put add to enemies, rat, a vicious brown rat with angry red eyes, 50/50 key. So that's its health, strength, item that it's carrying, name and description. I've also put this debug thing in so that we can describe any enemies that we have created for debugging purposes. Next we've got create default locations. We've just made some couple of minor changes here in that the corridor now has a key card and the sword. I did originally put the key in there, but we've changed that now to sword. And in the lift we've now added no items in there, nothing required to open the lift, but there is a rat inside it. So again, just a minor change to that one and that one. These are the same, shared location is the same, so it's just some couple of minor changes there. I think that's it with those. Yep, okay, let's have a look now at main. Now there's some new stuff in main. We've got this new fight function here, which is how we deal with attacks. Play has had an extra bit here, so when we're choosing what we're going to be doing, if the action is fight, then it's passing a couple of bits across there. And take action has also got a new bit right at the top, if attack in choice. So again, we'll go through those. Main, the only changes here is that if we get killed by the rat because we forget to pick up the sword and we try and attack it with the book, which isn't going to be very helpful, then we get to get killed and the shared game state goes to dead, and therefore the messages in the narrator, which we haven't kind of looked at for ages, there is a death message in there which is printed out. So that's the only change to main player. Yeah, a couple of minor changes here. We've now got inside the player an attack. Yes, I did put some extra stuff in which I kind of not used. I've left it there just so you can have a look at it, but we're not really using that. So this is the attack inside the player object now. And also I believe we've got, yeah, a receive attack, so that when the player receives an attack, it decreases the health appropriately and checks whether it's gone below 0. So that's all in there. Okay, I think we're probably ready to run through this now. So let's go over to main, and we're going to go to the play section. I'll pause briefly while I get it all set up so that we don't waste any time going through it. Now, having said that, I want to show you the debug screen. So, no, okay, we'll carry on. So we'll hit, yeah, we'll go back to the game there, and we want to do the add to locations. So it's create default items. We don't need to go through that because it works before, but we do need to do the enemies and the debug there. Okay, so let's pop that there, go back to main and hit the play button. Right, so do we want to disable? Not this time, no. I want to show you everything here. So this is, as before, is just displaying everything, and the reason that this is coming out as weapon.weapon is because there is a line of code that gets the type of the variable, and the type is weapon.weapon. Okay, let's press enter there. Right, so we're going to add to the enemies with all this lot here, so let's step through that. So shared enemies updates, key name is rat, and then we're going to create a new enemy, so we'll step in to do that. So we are passing the name, which is rat, the description, a vicious brown rat with angry red eyes, strength 50, health 50, drop item is the key. So that's passing into the enemy. Let's press the F11, so this lot is all collected up into the self._ private variables as before. Then we've just got these getters and setters which we're not using at the moment. So we'll escape out of here. Our enemy has been created. Then we're going to go through the debug one. So this is similar to what we did before. We're just setting a width for the console, resize the console. Let's show you that. So I've just made it slightly wider. Then print the dictionary shared enemies. I'll print the next line as well. So the dictionary shared enemies contains the following enemies, double underscore lines there. Then it's going through and it's getting the for each key value in the shared enemies items. This is, again, if I remind you from last time, shared enemies is a dictionary. So this is the items of the dictionary, nothing to do with the items of our item class. It confused me the other moment when I was looking at it. So we're now getting the key, which we're getting out of here, and the value.description, value.health, and value.strength. I've had to put the str in here because I wanted to justify the readouts for strength and health, but because they are integers, I had to convert them to strings first in order to justify it as a string. So that kind of makes sense. So we'll just go through those, and that shows you the name, rat, description, health, and everything on there. and then we resize the console, and we're carrying on. So we're now pressing enter to continue. We'll resize the console. There we go. So we've now created our default locations. We're setting the as before, we're setting all these up. I won't go through those now. We'll just press that. These are our locations set up. So you can see we've got in the lift, I haven't actually put in that we've got an enemy in there, have I? So that's something I'm just going to make a note about that. Enemy in lift. There we go. So that on the improved version, which is next time round, on the final one where we're loading in from file, there's lots of little minor improvements that I want to do there, but it would have been nice to have had the enemy showing up in here. So we'll press enter for that. This is where I'm just going to pause briefly until we get past this stage. Right, so we've gone through setting up the player, and we're now going through the play routine as before. So this time what I wanted to do was to the only real difference is the fact that we can go now and attack. So I think that's what we'll need to set up. So I will put this else if action equals fight. Yes, I'll put that there. Right, let's hit the green button. Right, so we've got our inventory here. So I'm going to go east 6. Obviously we need to keep restarting that. Actually, I don't need that on there. So yeah, that's good. So we're now in the corridor. I'm going to pick up the sword. So let's take the sword, which is 4. Okay, now we'll go east to the lift. Let me just pause there because I did make a change to the location class thinking about it. Yeah, let me just... Right, display location. Yep, I didn't want... Yes, I've added this here. So what I didn't want was this output with exits if there weren't any. So I'm going to alter that shortly. But let's get down to this bit here. So I'll put this stop point in there. We'll go back to here, and then we want to press the enter key. So we're now in here. So this checks the available exits, and then we're going down to here. So if there is an enemy, which there is, rat, so it's not equal, we're just going to print out enemy self.enemy. So let's show you that. Enemy rat. So this is the line I wanted to get rid of, which I will do shortly. So it's showing us that there is a rat in this location. And then it will carry on doing the setting up the menu for fighting here. So if I press F5, there we go. Where are we? Where's it stuck? It's probably waiting for me to press something on here. Oh yes, there we go. Right, so we've got the menu up. So now we can choose one, attack rat. So let's do that. So the action that we've chosen now is fight, and we're going to fight here. So let's press F11. And this is our new function here, fight, and we're passing in just one parameter, which is the current location, which I've called here, which is of type location.location. So that tells you that we've actually passed in an object in this case. So the enemy, if there is one, is equal to shared enemies here.enemy. So that will check the current location. Is there an enemy? If there is, it's going to store it in there. So we'll press F11. And the self enemy is rat inside the location class. There's the enemy. And it's an actual object again, so that the enemy this now is not just the word rat, it is the shared enemies square brackets rat. So this is the actual object. So I suppose really I should have put the little semicolon on there to remind me, and put enemy in there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we're now going to print out the player.attack here. So this means that we're going to jump in back into the player object and call the attack function with our player. So let's do that. Okay, so we're inside the player object and we've called player attack. So it says you attack the here enemy, which if I press get self enemy, the rat, of course. So let's show you what that shows up on the screen there. Oh, I haven't actually printed it yet. That would help. That's the message. We've set the message. We haven't printed it yet. So damage equals 10 is a default value, so that if, for example, we did not have a sword in the a weapon in our inventory, we've got a default item which is your fist. Use item is your fist with a damage of 10, which is not going to do a great deal to our rat. So then we're going to check whether in our inventory we do have a weapon. So this for loop here is going to go through our inventory. At the moment I've only got a sword in the inventory because I didn't pick anything else up. But this is quite useful because it shows us how it works. Now this instance is a Python keyword to find out what type of is this an instance here of weapon.weapon. So we're asking, is shared items item an instance of weapon.weapon? And if it is, then we can set it to be the one that we're going to use. So if I press F11, is this a weapon.weapon? Yes, it is. So this is an instance of a weapon class. So the damage is that shared sword damage, which I believe was set to 50. We'll soon tell when we go into it. So here's our weapon damage, 25, sorry, I couldn't remember. So we set it to a damage value of 25. So we'll step out of that. So the damage we're going to get from our weapon is 25, and the item that we're going to use is the sword. And then the message is then incremented. So at the moment the message says you attack the rat, then with sword inflicting 25 damage points. So let's press F11. So that should now be on here. Oh no, we still haven't. I haven't printed it. Idiot. Right. So we've got the message, but we haven't printed it out yet. So the shared enemies receives an attack of that amount. So damage points 25. So we're going to go into the shared enemies dictionary. We're finding the enemy which we know is rat, and we're going to get it to receive an attack of 25 points. So we're now going to step back into the enemy class up here. So let's go back and, well, let's press F11. Right, so this is the enemy receive attack. of 25. So the self health, which is currently 50, minus equals damage. So that drops it down to self health is now 25. If it was less than 0, it would be 0, but it's not. So we're now going back. So we're returning the result of our attack function is the message which we have been creating up here, and we're finally going to send it back, and it says you attack the rat with a sword inflicting 25 damage points, which is all worked out inside this attack message, which is part of player. So it all gets very complicated. So let's return that. So our message, where it says print player attack here, that player attack here returned the message which we have now printed out. You attack the rat with the sword inflicting 25 damage points. So that's where the print came out. I could have done it as message equals player attack here, print message, but I've kind of done it a bit all in one, which is typical Python way of doing things. I then reset the message back to an empty string so that we can do a new message. So what it's checking now, if we press F11, is if the enemy health equals 0. We know it's 25. I can't, unfortunately, because this is Python, read the enemy health. I can in C#, but so we know it's 25. So that's going to skip that, because now message equals enemy attack player. So similar to what we did up here where we printed out player attack here, I could have simply put print enemy attack player, but here I've done it the more, shall we say, conventional way. Message equals enemy attack player, and then print the message. The reason for doing that, of course, is that this message could be different depending on whether the enemy is still alive or dead. So if it was dead, the message would say the enemy is dead and that the drop item has been dropped. So that's why it's done slightly differently. So let's go into the enemy attack. So here it says that the message is rat attacks you inflicting 50 damage. And then we go back to the player receive attack. So let's just, there we are, you attack the rat. Of course, it's still in message form. We haven't actually printed it yet. So we'll go to player receive attack. So this is the player class. We've sent it 50 damage. Our health is currently 54. Whoa, it's close. And then we're going to take away that amount. So we can only have 2 full blows from the rat, and that's because we've got full health. Anyway, so we return the message from the enemy attack, print the message. So it now says the rat attacks you inflicting 50 damage. And then if the player health is equal to 0, well, player health is 54, fortunately. If it was 0, then shared game state is changed to shared game states dead. So that would break the loop that this, the play loop. So as the health is not 0, we continue. So that we are. We now have carried out our fight, and we're sleeping for 4 seconds. I've made it 4 to give you a bit more time to read what happens when you attack the rat. So we'll press F11, 4-second delay. There we go, we're finished. And again, we're back in the play version here. So let's continue. Untick that. There we go. Right, so again, we've got the ability to attack the rat. So I think we've covered everything of what happens there now. The only thing I didn't think of was, I'll tell you what we'll do, just as an experiment. I'm going to open my inventory. I haven't tried this before. And I'm going to drop the sword. Yeah. Now, I've still got to attack the rat, but I don't have a sword in my hand anymore, or in my inventory anymore. So let's go back to the fight one, which was in Maine, I think it was. Yeah, we're already got a point there. So we're now going to attack the rat, but without a weapon. So we'll hit 1. We've got code is stopped, so we're going to fight here. Let's F11. We know what the enemy is. You attack the player, that's the message. Right. Now then, damage is 10, use item is your fist. So that's been set. So we're now inside the player class, and we're attacking the enemy. It's going to check through the inventory and see if I've got a weapon, but of course it won't find one. So the message now changing to your fist, causing 10 damage. Not so good. So we're now going to send that attack over to the enemy. So the enemy will receive 10 points of damage. 10 points of damage. So its health is now 15. So, but it's going to give us a mighty whack in a minute. So the self, that's returning the message. Enemy health is not 0. So we're going to print out the message, and now we're going to get the player receive attack of 50. So we are about to, we're now in the enemy class, so the enemy is attacking us. We're going to get a whack of 50 strength. So let's follow what happens when we do that. We're in the player class, we receive 50. Health is 54. We're now going to drop that out. Health is 4. Oh, wow. I thought we might be dead. So not just yet. So let's return the message, and we'll just repeat that once more. So in 50 damage, we can still attack the rat. I'm just going to do that one more time. Obviously I'm going to die this time. So we'll step through the fight here. Let's step through this. So we'll print player attack here. So we're still using our fist. So we're going to attack the enemy with just 10 points. The enemy is going to receive that 10 points, and its health is going to drop to 5. So I think it's going to be a close run this time. Enemy health is not 0. So we are now being attacked. So the enemy is going to attack us with another 50 points. So let's run that through. The player is going to receive that attack of 50. Health is now minus 46. If the health is less than or equal to 0, health is 0. So we, the player, have 0 health. Oh dear, not good. Now, if the player health equals 0, which it does, then the shared game state goes to game state's dead, which means after our 4 seconds sleep, there we go, the game state is no longer game state's play. It's now dead. So that means we're going to skip out of this loop, clear the console, and then we're going to check whether we are in game state dead, which we are. So it's going to go through the messages in the narrator death message. So we'll print the message. Let's show you that. Sorry you did not make it this time. Print the message again. Please try again. And now we're going to get the final message, which is in the narrator end message, which of course is thank you for playing. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe. So that's where you saw it. It's nothing to do with me. Thank you. We'll be seeing the Lua and C# versions next.